Hello everybody, I'm hoping this goes alright. I've decided to make a bit of a ranting video. I don't know what the background gameplay, if any gameplay, it might just be a blank picture, who knows. You guys know, that's who knows. Yeah, I've decided to rant a bit. I have no particular direction, but I have some key points that I want to go over, and this is generally going to be about sort of politics, education, even touching on mental health, also inspirational figures, certainly inspirational figures to me, people like Elon Musk, Jordan B. Peterson. I have no script, nothing like that. I don't know how deep into these subjects I'm going to go, so if you're interested in any of the things that I just said, stick around. You might enjoy something. I'd like to open up a dialogue, so if this video gets any popularity, you're welcome to shove your comments into the comment section, and yeah, we can maybe have a bit of a back and forth. So I should probably give you a little bit of background information. My name's Andrew. I've been interested in politics, social sciences, things like that, ever since I got my first girlfriend a few years back, who sort of introduced me to the world of social sciences. Ever since then, it's really taken hold of me. I've got more interested in every aspect of it, from the sociology, politics sort of side of it, to how the world works side of it, to the, on a more micro scale, the more personal Darren Brown levels of psychology, you know, reading people's little traits, what they say, what they do, that gives away certain things that the average person might not focus on or might not pick up, even they themselves, the person making the slight little mouth twitches, or you know, squinting your eyes when you're needing to think about an answer, things like that. People that don't even realise that they're giving off these little micro expressions. But that's boring stuff. Not gonna bother talking about that today. Today I want to focus on, drink for dramatic pause and effect. I want to talk about, well, a lot of things. Everything that I said at the start. This will probably be somewhat choppy. I might chop it up, or I might just keep it going as a podcast, who knows? You guys know. So where should I begin? I've been reading Jordan B. Peterson's book. Jordan B. Peterson is a guy from Canada, sociologist. He's many things. He's an incredibly intelligent man, to say the very least. He's, I believe, a doctor. I might be wrong. I don't mean doctors in taking people apart, working on their heart, things like that. I mean like a psychological doctor. But again, I might be wrong. I know he's very well educated in psychology, to the extent that he is a professor. He is a professor at the University of, I want to say the University of Canada, or something like that. I think it's something a little bit more specific, somewhere in Canada. Like, say, I live in Edinburgh. We have a university called the University of Edinburgh. I think it might be a place more like that, where it's the name of a place in Canada, not just Canada in general kind of university, because Canada's a big place. But yeah, he's a very intellectual man, and although I don't always agree with everything he says, I do respect everything he says enough to hear him out. And I mean, you've got to. Ironically, he does make a point about respect in general. He doesn't think that respect is something that should be just given willy-nilly to anybody who comes asking for it. He believes that everybody is equal until they do something that takes away their respect, or until they do something that shows him that they deserve respect. Regardless of that, like if they've not done anything like that, then he does not show respect, but he doesn't show a lack of respect. He purely treats them as a mutual. The whole treat others how you want to be treated. So he'll treat them with enough respect that he would expect from them, to strangers meeting each other for the first time type thing. And he said some very interesting things on a semi-recent H3H3 podcast. I'll try to remember to put the links in the description. He said some very, very interesting things that made me sort of reevaluate a few of my my beliefs, I guess. And that's quite a strong thing to do. I think anybody would agree. If you're a fairly strong-minded individual, which I like to think I am, to have someone say, not even directly to you, just in general discussion with another person that you're overhearing, something that makes you kind of take a sit back and think, hold on, now that made sense. That made a lot of sense. I'm going to think on that. And what it was that he said was something that I think a lot of people might take offence to. Not from me, not from hearing it from me, because I'm just quoting another guy. Don't get mad at me. Don't shoot the messenger. But he was talking about politics and how all these people. Now, he got famous, by the way, because, well, I say famous. He got a lot of attention from media because he had some fairly outspoken views on new what do you call them? New sort of legislation coming into effect for the Canadian trans community. And one of the things that the new legislation was trying to do was say, well, anybody's got a right as a trans person to be called by their preferred pronouns. And if you don't call them their preferred pronouns, we're taking that as hate speech. Which I see. Don't get me wrong. Initially, when I heard about these, I was for them 100%. But Jordan's point against it, Mr. Peterson's point against it, was that that's sort of a violation on, at the very least, on his own views, his own morals, the whole respect thing. If someone looks like a he, and he goes up to him, never knowing him before, and says, "Excuse me, sir," and they take offence to that, that's not Jordan's fault. Jordan shouldn't be prosecuted, charged with hate crime just for mistaking somebody's gender. I've done that before. I'm pretty sure anybody, if they've not mistaken gender before, they've at the very least mistaken someone for someone else. I remember in my old school, we had a really close friend of mine, a guy called Calvin, had a younger brother called Zach. They looked identical. They were 2 years apart, but this was before I knew how twins worked. I genuinely went most of my life thinking they were twins. I didn't understand how twins work. I didn't know that they had to be born at the same time. I genuinely thought they were twins. So one day I came into school, after I'm quite a tall guy, and I have been ever since then. I had this sort of growth spurt, so I came back to school, and I was right behind who I thought was Calvin, and I said, "Hey, Calvin," and the guy turns around, and it was like, "Oh, Calvin. You're that weird guy from around the corner, you're the guy that lives on my street, aren't you, that hangs out with my older brother? Yeah, I'm Zach." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, whoops, my bad." But yeah, that's not hate crime. That's me just mistaking someone for someone else. You mistake identities all the time. Hell, I've got quite long hair at the moment. I wouldn't blame someone for coming up to me and being like, "Excuse me, miss." I just turn around and be like, "Sup, dude?" I'm not mad at that, and I don't think anybody should be. It's a misunderstanding. But yeah, Jordan's point was it shouldn't be classified as hate crime, and it shouldn't be forced either. If somebody turns around to them and says, "Oh, actually, I'm a miss. Can you please refer to me as such?" But they do it in such a manner that's disrespectful. If you show someone disrespect, then they will show you it back. That's a fact of life. If you call someone, if I called you, if you were at home watching, a dickhead, that's not me calling you your preferred pronoun, your preferred name, or anything. That's me calling you a dickhead. That's not very nice of me. So you're probably going to call me a dickhead back. So if this person is very abrupt and mean in the way that they ask you to use their preferred pronouns, then expect to be mean, treated meanly back. One of the points that he made was, look, this is a respect-based thing. It's like, the way I interpreted it, at least, was that this is a respect-based thing. If he's got multiple transgender students, and many of them even wrote to him to say, look, I back you 100% here, by the way. He's got these students. If these students have shown him respect as a teacher, then of course he shows them respect straight back. Hell yeah. Yeah? It makes sense. But the people who came to his rally, it wasn't a rally. It didn't start as rallies. It started as just him public speaking, and then these sort of activists, these extremists, and I will use those words because I feel like it's suitable in this situation. These extremists that cut off his microphone, or that sprayed the really loud car horn in a can sort of idea. You know what I mean? Like an air horn, is that what they're called? Like in his ear throughout whenever he wanted to talk. Air horn going on. He can't talk. He can't say anything, and he was getting really worried about his hearing too. These extreme people were showing him disrespect. So of course, he took that as a liberty to say, "Look, I'm not going to show you respect either. I'm going to call you names because you're calling me names. I'm gonna say not slanderous things, not misinformed things like you're saying about me, but instead I'm going to tell the world my experience of you, and from there the world will know that you're going to extreme levels to silence the freedom of speech that the trans community was wanting from that from those rights, from the legislation being passed. They wanted the same rights as everybody else. That's why the legislation was passed in the first place. But the thing is, everybody else doesn't have a right to not be offended. Everybody else doesn't have a right to not be called names. Yeah, there's slander laws, and there's verbal abuse laws and things like that. But I mean, I come from Scotland. I've lived in Scotland all my life, and I think it's entirely normal. I don't think it's entirely normal elsewhere. I think it's entirely normal in some places, but I certainly think it's entirely normal in Scotland. For two people get a bit drunk, start calling each other dickhead. What's the problem? They might end up fighting. The two of them are going to sober up, and then they're not going to have a problem with each other anymore. They'll probably laugh about it. I know a guy in Fife whose best friend is a guy he met by trying to start a fight with him when he got too drunk. And then he ended up slipping on something, and the guy who wasn't as drunk, his friend, was like, dude, I've got to call someone for you here. So he called him an ambulance. And from there, like, the ambulance crew, I don't think my friend was with anybody, so the dude that he was trying to start a fight with was the guy who came with him. And yeah, from there they got along well, you know. But yeah, getting back on topic, that's how Jordan B. Peterson kind of came into power, and into power as if he's got like political power or something like that. He doesn't. He's just a professor. He's just a chill dude who's wrote a couple books now. He's been on the H3 podcasts. As I said, I'll try to link those down below. I do highly recommend giving them a listen. And yeah, I the thing I heard on it that made me completely change some of my views. As I've said, I've been interested in politics now for quite some time, but I'm quite young. And for him to say something along the lines of, and I understand that I am paraphrasing slightly here, but I'm trying to keep as true to life as possible. He said something along the lines of, how dare you, he was talking about wisdom, how dare you feel like you can have a political opinion at such a young age. And at first I was really offended by that. Because I got an A in my politics from back in high school. I was very much so liked by my politics teacher. The people that I have met in the political world, I've got my local Scottish Member of Parliament, my local Scottish Member of Parliament called me an inspiration. I must be doing something right. How dare I form a political opinion that I'm doing everything right? So at first I was really offended, but my screen's gone black there. There we go. At first I was really offended. I didn't understand why he would say this, but then I thought about it for a while, and he's like, at the end of the day, this guy's, I don't know what age he is. Hold on, let me have a quick look. Jordan Peterson age. So yeah, thought so. I thought he was 57. He's 55. He's 55 years old. So you've got to respect. I am a fair believer in respect your elders, but I think at the same time elders should respect you. If you've got a family of like grandparents who just take the piss out of you all the time, they do it because they love you and they want you to grow up strong and things like that. Don't get me wrong, I understand that, but there's a point where you've got to take the piss out of them back, and that's just a fact of life. If people aren't respecting you to the point that it's hurting your feelings, you're welcome to take the piss back. I've done it to my Uncle James a few times. He used to take the piss out of me because I'm ginger. He used to take the piss out of me because I was a little bit bigger than the other kids. I like to think I've gotten into shape now, but I used to be quite chubby, things like that. And back then it was acceptable. Back then it was. Like he is in no way, shape or form a bad uncle. He's one of my favourites. He's a guy that you can genuinely have a laugh with. But it gets to a point, you know, you've got to say something back. You've got to take the piss back. You've got to show your dominance, you know. Something like Alex Jones there for a second. My apologies. Turn the frickin' frogs gay. But yeah, you've got to take something back. So I have occasionally started taking the piss back, but only when provoked. Only when provoked. And it's a fair thing. Both of us laugh about it. It's all good. But yeah, you've got to respect sort of people who are older and wiser than you. That was his point of conversation all along. He was talking about being wise, what he thought knowledge was versus what he thought being wise was, and being wise to his understanding, or my understanding of his understanding, was the experiences that you've had being translated into knowledge. The experiences that you've had that thanks to those experiences you've learnt something, and you're able to found beliefs and justify beliefs on those experiences, on that knowledge, on that wisdom. And I think that's accurate. I think that's quite an accurate thing. I have come to look at wisdom in a similar way. So I had to respect that this guy, because we've got similar beliefs. As I said, I don't believe everything. I don't 100% agree with everything that comes out of this guy's mouth. But he's definitely someone that's got my respect. So I had to respect his belief of, how dare I have a political belief, which felt really disrespectful at the time. But I thought about it. I had to think about it. Of course you do. You know, when someone that you trust in a way. I never saw this guy as my friend or anything. I've never met the guy. But when somebody that you trust, that you've built this sort of rapport with, your favourite YouTuber, your favourite actor, actress, whatever, your favourite character in a book, does something or says something that hurts you, that doesn't feel right, doesn't make sense, you've got to think about it. Why did they do that? So I thought about it, and I understood that because this guy's older, he probably does have a lot of beliefs that he has founded thanks to his wisdom. And that belief that he himself just said, that how dare I have a political opinion, was probably founded in his own experiences, his own wisdom. So, sorry, I've lost my train of thought for just a second here. So I decided, okay, I'll strip back my political beliefs that I don't feel I know enough about. So I used to have this belief about taxes. I've never paid taxes in my life. I've never had a job that I've earned enough money to pay taxes on. So I don't know what taxes are. I don't know how to pay them. I don't really know much about them, except for the rich have a lot of money, so why not tax the ever-loving crap out of them? And the poor don't have very much money at all. This is coming from someone who is in the lower percentile of incomes. His family in general, my family in general, being in the lower percentile of incomes. Why should I have an opinion about, like of course somebody who's poor, is going to be off a belief, oh, just take the money from the rich, they can afford it. Like, of course I am. That's dumb. Like, of course I'm off that opinion. That's not a groundbreaking opinion. I thought I'd broken some ground with, why not just, like, make the sort of taxation algorithm, the chart that plots how much each income is taxed by, just make that more extreme, you know? Poor get taxed less, the rich get taxed more, so sort it out. But then I hear counter-arguments, pardon me, I hear counter-arguments that are, well, these people have earned that money. These people have put a lot of effort to get that money, and now you want to take it off of them and feel like they should have more taken off of them, even though they're working harder, generally. Sometimes they're not. Sometimes they've managed to get a lucky deal early on or inherit a lot of money. Meanwhile, there's poor people working their butts off at like 3 40-hour-a-week jobs. You know, I've got my auntie who's holding down like 3 jobs just to keep her family fed. This isn't her living a life of luxury. God no, like she's not living terribly or anything. But it's a case of she's doing these jobs because she needs to do these jobs. She doesn't like her cleaning job. She cleans one of her jobs is cleaning toilets for a local community centre. She doesn't like these jobs. Well, she likes cleaning. She likes the gratification of cleaning. She's told me that, but she doesn't. There's nobody who would do some of the jobs that she does out of pure choice. She's come back with horror stories about shit being flung around the toilets and things. Most sane people would quit that job right there and then, but she can't. She can't afford to. She's got to keep her family fit. So yeah, these people, these other inspirational people like Elon Musk, he wouldn't be able to make like SpaceX shit. He wouldn't be able to make Tesla shit, big, huge investments, if we taxed the ever-loving shit out of people with a net worth of like 5 billion or whatever he's got. We wouldn't be able to make these groundbreaking progressions in life if everybody had a common share. Because then no one person would be able to say, well, look, I've got a good idea, let's put all the money into it, because nobody else is going to agree to that. To an extent, there's a reason why the 1% have 99% of the wealth. It's because they kind of know what to do with it. I don't know what to do with money. I'm shit at saving money. I used to be good. Now I'm shit. I don't want Elon Musk kind of money. I'd just fire rockets into the sun all day, just for fun. And then all of a sudden, my glamorous supermodel wife or whatever would come up to me and be like, Andrew? Yes, honey? We're out of money. Really? How? How did we do that? How did we manage that? We were loaded. We've got a net worth of 5 billion. Yeah, we did, until you sent that rocket off into the sun with all our money. Good point, dear. Good point. See, that's what dumbass me would do. Elon's an inventor. He's an investor. He's like. He, don't get me wrong. He's no god or deity. Like I hear a ton of people. He's paving the way for our future. He's not really. He's just a rich guy that has some good ideas and thinks, hold on, what? First of all, why haven't I done this already? And second of all, why hasn't anybody done this already? Like, what? Why not make space like literally half as expensive by being able to retrieve the parts that we fuck off into space? That makes sense, doesn't it? Until recently, NASA's just been pissing things off into space and being like, okay, well, the control module can come back. with the pilots. The rest of that shit, I can just float around in space. That's fine. But no, Elon was like, nah, let's make some as much of this shit retrievable as we can, so that we can reuse it. Duh, makes sense. On the planet, we're all talking about recycling. Meanwhile, our own, like, what would you call it? The outside the atmosphere, our own gravitational field is just like littered with space debris. You know. But yeah, Elon Musk is quite the inspiration. Getting back to the Jordan B. Peterson thing here, I respected his opinion of. I respect all of his opinions enough to think about them. And I respected his opinion of how dare I have a political opinion. So I adjusted the things that I didn't know about. I didn't know enough about. I'm not educated enough in the world of taxes to make a fair judgment on taxes. I don't have a strong belief on taxes anymore. I used to. I don't anymore. But meanwhile, there was things that I do hold dear to myself that I would have been far more bereaved to have let go as a political belief. I couldn't just start from scratch. I had to be able to form some sort of political belief from my own experiences so far in life. There must have been a way, and it turns out there was. I myself have had a fantastic life. A mum who loves me, a family who loves me. I've been able to save for just about anything that I wanted. I've not wanted enough things to ever feel like, oh, woe is me, woe is my life, but at the same time I have wanted enough things to always be able to give myself a goal to achieve as far as money and saving and things like that go. I know I said that I was crap at saving. I am, certainly currently, because I have no goal to be saving up for. I don't have a aim at the moment, so anytime that I get money I'm like, oh, okay, better buy myself I don't know, some tasty crap from the store and some useless stuff. I bought an Oculus Rift. I've used it like 4 times. Waste of £300 right there. Ouch. But yeah, I've had a good life so far. As I say, I'm still very young, so things could get worse. But I do feel like throughout my life I've had enough bad experiences in the realms of mental health, not my own, generally speaking, touch wood, but through friends. I've got many close friends. 5 come to mind off the top of my head that today are alive and touch wood well today, and they have strong mental health issues. There's one girl that I know, I won't mention her name, I don't think I'll mention any of these people's names. One girl that I know uses self-harm as a coping mechanism, and that, to me, when you hear about that doesn't sound like a healthy thing at all. You usually use a healthy thing as a coping mechanism, you know? But she was using a very unhealthy thing, and I didn't understand it. But over time, I realised I can't stop her from doing it. She lives in America. I can't stop her from doing it. I can't travel all the way to America and, like, take the knife out of her hands or anything like that. But I slowly understood through asking her questions and having conversations with her that she did it so that she could. She couldn't mend her mental state easily. She couldn't, when she was hurt, not physically but mentally, she couldn't mend those wounds well. So instead she used a physical wound, the scarring of a knife or something like that, and made a link in her brain to say, okay, this wound has been caused at the same time as this mental wound. As I watch and feel this physical wound heal, I'll be able to make this mental wound heal too. And that was the goal that she set herself every time that she self-harmed. And I think if you're gonna self-harm, that is a healthier way to look at it. I don't think people should try to use self-harm as a coping mechanism. Definitely not. But if it's your last resort, if it's something that you can't stop, then at the very least try to have a positive mental attitude about it, and try to be strong. To not let yourself get too far with this, because she would just do little things, like little. I hate using the word cuts. I don't know why I hate using the word cuts, but I don't want to call them cuts. But she would make smaller scars, and just call them the wound, call them the mental wound, and watch them heal. And I think I've come to terms now, although she's one of my closer friends, I can't stop her from doing that. I've talked to her multiple times before. Look, we can find you healthier coping mechanisms, but she's not interested in stopping. It works for her. It works for her, and you've got to respect that. Everybody's got their own coping mechanisms, healthy or unhealthy, and if they work, she's not got a very positive life. So if they work for her, you've got to respect that. At least she's not killing herself. She's not taking her own life. She's content as she is with the coping mechanisms she has. On that segue, I've got multiple other people, or have had multiple other people in my life, including my own father, who has taken his life through because of a depression. I don't know the full story behind my father's passing, unfortunately. I hope to someday piece all the parts together. Some people seem to have been off the belief that he had depression, the mental illness. Other people, such as myself, believe that he was just going through a depression, the feeling of depression. He had recently he was in the middle of going through a divorce. His ex-wife recently took all the what would you call it, the furniture and stuff out of his house. Took his other kid away. He only saw me every second week. He saw his other kid only every other second week. It was a sad life. It was a sad life. Certainly at the time, for those few months. So I think that was what caused it, not depression itself. He had always needed medication, but the medication, my understanding, what he always told me, was just insomnia. He had sleeping problems. Luckily, thanks Dad, I've inherited those. But he specifically had insomnia, and he took these pills for insomnia, which is why nobody batted an eyelid when he ordered extra pills, because he constantly needed stronger and stronger stuff as he got older, because of the weaker stuff that he was using started to have less and less of an effect on him, which is how he died. These pills. I don't mind sharing that information online, because I've not given anything out about his life except for the death and how it's affected me. And so from that, I do feel like I can make make a conclusion about mental health in and around the world. I feel like I can make a political opinion on that, because I've got experience and thus wisdom. Like, as I said, 5 people alive today come to mind. 12 people in total come to mind, unfortunately. I don't know if some of these people are still living. I'm not in contact with some of these people anymore. I know for a fact some of these people aren't. So I have a strong opinion now on mental health care. I've always had a strong opinion on mental health care, political or non-political, but I now have a stronger one. I am able to justify my beliefs through my own personal experiences and my wisdom. I'm not a wise person. I've just had enough experiences to form that wisdom. So yeah, that's how my sort of foundation came around, the foundation of my political beliefs that I have today. thanks to Jordan B. Peterson kind of spurring me on to, less subtly, but still say, look, go and look at your beliefs, your political beliefs, and think, why the hell do I have some of these? Do I have some of these just because I've been taught them, or do I have some of these because they're my experiences, because they're my interpretation of the world around me? I think that's quite a healthy thing to do in other aspects than just political. But yeah, that's sort of my foundation. From there, I was able to also form a fairly strong opinion on the education system too, since I've been through the education system, certainly the one here in Scotland, and I've been on the receiving end of mental health help through the education system. That was sort of my link there. I've had terrible time with certainly government hired psychiatrists. They're not helpful. If you live in Scotland and your school offers you a psychiatrist, you're welcome to go into there with high hopes, because I did. But they've got this script that they have to stick to, this typical, how does that make you feel? And how does that affect you? And what have you done about it? They just ask you questions that they think you're too dumb to have already asked yourself. And I think for a logical person, I don't think they help much at all. So that was what linked me from mental health care to education, and through the education I also feel certainly Scotland needs to do something about our education system. That's the 36-minute mark. I'm going to take a short break, but hopefully I'll be right back. Hello again. So luckily for you guys, that wasn't a very long break at all, and luckily for me, it wasn't too long either, just 10 minutes. I had a quick think over, and I think maybe keeping these videos to these sort of recordings, these rants, to the 30-minute, 45-minute mark will be fairly good. I've wanted somewhere to sort of start ranting to, so I thought, why not upload my rants to the world? Who knows? Maybe they'll get a bit of recognition. Maybe they'll just be buried under the rest of YouTube trash these days. Yeah. So thank you guys for listening. As I said before, if you've got any thoughts, any opinions, genuinely, I would love to read your guys' experiences of your own education system, your own experiences with the therapists or psychologists or whatever they want to call themselves, people that will try to help you through mental problems that, in my opinion, don't do a very good job. Some people swear by them. The friend that I mentioned earlier that uses self-harm as a coping mechanism, she loves her therapist. Totally gets along like a house on fire, feels like it helps. I've got another friend who hates her therapist, hates it with a passion, doesn't like talking to the therapist in the slightest. So, your experiences, don't forget, online, you're semi-anonymous unless you've been dumb like me and shoved your name all over your message or your channel or something like that. So you're welcome to post what you want. Safe zone here. If anybody's a prick, don't worry about them. People are pricks online. But yeah, thanks for listening. Take care.